So today we are going to discuss about the series resonant inverters. Okay. So at first we have to know that what is series resonant inverter. The series resonant inverter are based on the resonant current oscillation. The commutating components and the switching device are placed in series with the load to form an underdamped circuit. Okay. The current through the switching device falls to zero due to the natural characteristics of the circuit. If the switching element is a thyristor, it is said to be self-commuted. And this type of inverter produces an approximately sinusoidal waveform at a high output frequency ranging from 200 Hz to 100 kHz and is commonly used in relatively fixed output application, that means in the induction heating, sonar transmitter, fluorescent lighting and the ultrasonic generator. Okay. Due to the high switching frequency, the size of commutative components are small. And there are various configurations of series inverter depending upon the connections of the switching device and load. The series inverters may be classified in the two categories. One is series resonant inverters with unidirectional switches and the series resonant inverter with bidirectional switches. Okay. So at first we have to discuss about the series resonant inverters with unidirectional switches. So this is the basic diagram of simple inverter circuit using two unidirectional thyristor switches. Here we have seen that here two thyristors are used, one is T1 and T2, which as we know that thyristor is an unidirectional element. That's why we can say that it is an using two unidirectional switches. So now when the thyristor T1 is fired, a resonant pulse of current flows through the load and the current falls to the zero at T is equals to T1M. Okay. So this is the T1 which is equals to T1M and the current falls, resonant current, pulse of current falls to 0 and T1 is self-commuted. Next, firing of thyristor T2 causes a reverse resonant current through the load and T2 is self-commuted. Now, after T1 is equals to T1M and the thyristor T2 is fired, then there is a reverse resonant current which flows through the load and T2 is self-commuted. So this figure shows the mode 1 condition and this figure shows the mode 2 conditions. And the gating signals for thyristors, this is the gating signal for the thyristor, this G1 and G2, and these are the corresponding waveforms. Okay. Next, the series resonant circuit formed by L and C and the load. Here the load is assumed to be as a resistive load only, must be underdamped. So what is the conditions of underdamped system? The conditions of underdamped system is R square must be less than 4L by C. Okay. So this is the conditions of underdamped circuit, which is R square less than 4L by C. Now mode 1. What is when the mode 1 begins? Mode 1 begins when T1 is fired and the resonant pulse of current flows through T1 and the load. So this is the mode 1. T1 is fired and the current I1 flows through this circuit L, C and R. So what is the equation or instantaneous load current for this mode is L di1 dt plus R I1 plus 1 by C integration I1 dt plus Vc1, which is the initial voltage across the capacitor at t is equals to 0, which is nothing but equals to Vs. Okay. Now if we consider that at initial conditions the I1, initial conditions mean at t is equals to 0, the I1 is equals to 0 and Vc1 is equals to minus of Vc. So if we then compute this equation and solve this, we get I1t is nothing but A1 e to the power minus t r by 2L sine of omega rt. So what is omega r? Omega r is nothing but resonant frequency. We already know what is the condition of resonant circuit for series RLC network and parallel RLC network. From there, that concept, we can say that here the resonant frequency omega r is nothing but square root of 1 by LC minus r square by 4L square. Okay. And we have to find out the value of A1. So we can evaluate it from that, from the initial conditions, that is at t is equals to 0, we get A1 is nothing but Vs plus Vc by omega RL. So from that condition we replace the value of A1. Then what is alpha? Alpha is nothing but R by 2L. And the time Tm when the current I1 becomes maximum can be found from the conditions that at maximum condition what happened? The derivative of that term must be equals to 0. That means di1 dt is equals to 0. So from there, that condition we have get that Tm, the value of Tm, that means the maximum, the time Tm is nothing but 1 by omega r sin tan inverse omega r by alpha. Okay. Next, what is the capacitor voltage? Vc1t, that is nothing but 1 by C integration 0 to t I1t minus Vc. So from that condition we get the value of Vc1. That means the instantaneous voltage across the capacitor. Okay. Now this mode is valid for 0 less than equals to t less than equals to T1m, which is equals to pi by omega r, and ends when T1t becomes 0 at T1m. Okay. Now at the end of this mode, what happened? I1 is equals to t equals to T1m equals to 0. Okay. And Vc1 is nothing but t minus T1m equals to Vc1 equals to Vs plus Vc into e to the power minus alpha pi by omega r plus Vs. Okay. Now the second mode is, during this mode the thyristor T1 and T2 both are in off conditions. So when both are off conditions, then the circuit becomes like this. Only a inductor, means both two inductor, capacitor and resistors are there, and there is no supply voltage. Okay. And that's why the I20 is nothing but 0. Okay. And during this mode, what happened? This lies between t lies between 0 and T2m. In this condition, what happened? I2t is equals to 0, Vc2t is equals to Vc1, and Vc2t at t equals to T2m is equals to Vc2, which is nothing but Vc1. Now the mode 3. Mode 3 begins when the thyristor T2 is switched on and a reverse resonant current flows through the load. and this load current can be found. This load current, if we write the equation across this circuit, we get the equation, KVL equation, that L di3 dt plus Ri3 plus 1 by C integration I3 d3 plus B3 Vc3 at t equals to 0, which is equals to 0 with the initial conditions I3 equals to 0 at t equals to 0, and Vc3 is nothing but minus Vc2 equals to minus Vc1, which is nothing but this value. This is minus negative. Okay. So from this equation, we can find out the value of current I3t, which is nothing but Vc1 by omega RL e to the power minus alpha t sine of omega RT. Okay. Now the capacitor voltage is nothing but Vc3 t is equals to 1 by C integration 0 to t I3t minus Vc1, which is equals to Vc1 e to the power minus alpha t into alpha sine omega rt plus omega r cos of omega rt by omega. This is a simple integration, okay? And this mode is valid already. I have told that t lies between 0 to tm, t3m, which is nothing but pi by omega r, and ends when I3t becomes 0, okay? Now at the end of this mode, what happened? At the end of this mode, the I3 becomes 0, and in the steady state, what happened? Vc3 at t equals to t3m equals to Vc3 equals to Vc equals to Vc1 e to the power minus alpha pi by omega r, okay? Now from the equation, this one, okay, that is 8.49, where we get the value of Vc1, and in the and from the equation 8.53, where we get the value Vc3, we can find the value of Vc and Vc1, okay? And here a term z is used, which is nothing but alpha pi by omega r, and adding Vc to this equation, we get Vs plus Vc is nothing but Vc1, okay? Now these, the above equations, that means Vs plus Vc is equals to Vc1, indicates that under steady state condition, what happened? The peak value of positive current plus and the of load negative load current through the load is the same, okay? Now the load current IT must be 0 and T1 must be turned off before T2 is fired. That is the conditions of self commutation, okay? Otherwise, what happen? A short circuit condition will result through the thyristor and the DC supply. Therefore, the available off time, which is T2m, which is equals to minus, which is equals to TQ, called a dead zone, and which must be greater than the turn off time of thyristor, which is T off. So now we can say that pi minus omega naught minus pi by omega r, which is TQ, which is greater than T off, okay? Now where omega naught is the frequency of output voltage in rad per second, and this indicates that the maximum possible output frequency is limited to F naught, which is less than equals to F max, which is equals to 1 by 2 into T of plus omega, pi by omega r, okay? So the circuit which we have already seen is a very simple resonant inverter circuit, okay? Here the power flow from the DC supply is discontinuous, and the DC supply will have a high peak current and would contain harmonics. An improvement of the basic inverter is made if the inductors are closed coupled. Okay, so here we closely coupled, and when the when the T1 fired, the current IT begins to rise and the voltage across L1 will be positive. Okay, when I1 closed, then the voltage across L1 this side becomes positive, and the induced voltage on L2 will now add to the voltage of C. In the reverse biasing, the T2 and T2 will be turned off. The result is that the firing of one thyristor will turn off the other even before the load current reaches to zero. What is the drawback of this type of circuits? The drawback of high pulse current from the DC supply is overcome in a half bridge configuration, which is shown here, where L1 is equals to L2 and C1 is equals to C2. The power is drawn from the DC source during both half cycles of the output voltage. Okay, so we have the modifications of this circuit where L1 is equals to L2 and C1 is equals to C2. This is the basic circuit, and this is the circuit where the capacitors is also divided into two ports and which is equal. Okay, and this is a half bridge series resonant inverter, and this is the configurations of full bridge series resonant inverter. As we see that there are four thyristors are used. Okay, so here one half of the load current is supplied by the capacitor C1 or C2 and the other half by the DC source. Okay, and this is a full bridge. So here which uses for the higher output power. Okay, so when T1 and T2 are fired, a positive resonant current flows through the load, and when T3 and T4 are fired, a negative load current flows and the supply current is continuous. Okay, so the resonant frequency and the available dead zone depend on the load, and for this reason resonant inverters are most suitable for the fixed load applications. That means where the loads are fixed, there is no variation in the load. The inverter load here, which is here resistance only, could also be connected in parallel with the capacitor. Okay, now we are going to discuss about the series resonant inverters with bidirectional switches. Here we only use the single directional switches. That means we use only the thyristors in the circuit. But in the second case, we uses the series resonant inverter with bidirectional switches. Okay, so here we see that in case of resonant inverters with unidirectional switches, the power devices have to be turned on in every half cycle of the output voltage. Okay, and this limits the inverter frequency and the amount of energy transfer from the source to the load. In addition, the thyristors are subjected to high peak reverse voltage. Okay, now the performance of series inverters can be significantly improved by connecting an anti-parallel diode across the thyristor. So here in this circuit we use anti-parallel. That means it is reverse. The direction of diode is reverse the direction of thyristor. That is why it is called the anti-parallel diode is connected across the thyristor. And here what happened? we get that the thyristors in case of unidirectional device, the inverter frequency and the amount of energy transferred from the source to load, and the thyristor also are subjected peak reverse voltage. Okay, so here we have seen that when the thyristor T1 is fired, a resonant pulse of current flows and T1 is self-commuted at T is equals to T1. Okay. Next, a resonant pulse of current flows and T1 is self-commutated at T is equals to T1, and then the resonant oscillation continues after the turn off of T1. The resonant pulse of current flows through the continues to flow through the diode D1 and until the current falls to 0 again at the end of a cycle. So here a complete cycle occurs. Okay, so here it is seen that during the time up to the time t equals to T1, the thyristor T1 is on, and after that T1 is self-commutated and the D1 the current flows continues to flow through the diode D1 at up to when the current falls to 0. And the reverse voltage of the thyristor is limited to a forward voltage drop of a diode, which is typically 1 volt. Okay, and if the conduction time of the diode is greater than the turn off time of a thyristor, that means there is no need of a dead zone, and the output frequency, which is considered as a f naught, is the same as the resonant frequency. Okay, which is f naught is equals to fr is equals to omega r by 2 pi. Okay. Now, if we take that T off is the turn off time, then what is the value of T off? And what is the value of T relation between T off and F max? F max is nothing but which is equals to 1 by 2 T off. Okay. Here another, this is a circuit diagram of half bridge series inverter with bidirectional switches. That means here we see that here we using two thyristors and two antiparallel diodes across the T1 and T2. Okay, so for the first half, what happened? T1 is on up to T1, then D1 on, then T2 on, then D2 on, and continues. After that, T1 on, D1 on, and this continues. Okay, so the diode D1 should be connected as close as possible to the thyristor, and the connecting lead should be minimum to reduce any stray inductance in the loop formed by T1 and D1. As the reverse voltage during the recovery time of the thyristor T1 is low, we know or we consider that it is typically 1 volt. Any inductance in the diode path would reduce the net reverse voltage across the terminals of T1, and the thyristor T1 may not turn off. Okay. So to overcome this problem, a reverse conducting thyristor, that means called the RCT, reverse conducting thyristor, is normally used. Okay. And a reverse conducting thyristor, what is reverse conducting thyristor? It is made by integration of an asymmetrical thyristor and a fast recovery diode into a single silicon chip. And the RCTs are ideal for series resonant inverters. Okay. And this circuit diagram shows a full bridge in series inverter with the bidirectional switches. Okay. So this is a full bridge series inverter. Okay. And this is the waveform of full bridge series inverter. And this is a half bridge transistorized resonant inverter. Here we see that here we see that we use a transformer here, okay, and we can also the inverters can be operated into two different modes, okay. That modes are non-overlapping modes and the overlapping modes, okay. So in a non-overlapping mode, the firing of a thyristor is delayed until the last current oscillation through the diode has been completed, which is shown by this figure, okay. So here this is a non-overlapping mode. Here the firing of thyristor T1 is delayed, T2, the firing of thyristor T2 is delayed until the last oscillation through the diode is completed. So that means T1 is fired after the oscillation through the diode D1 is completed, okay. And the second one is overlapping mode. That means a thyristor is fired while the current in the diode of the other part is still conducting in nature. That means here T1 is on, but the oscillation through D2 is conducting, okay. That means this is the overlapping in nature. Although the overlapping operation reduces the output frequency and the output power is increased, okay. And the maximum frequency of a resonant inverters are limited due to the turn off or commutation requires of thyristor. Typically, the time is 12 to 20 microseconds, whereas the transistors which require only a microsecond or less can be replaced by the thyristor, okay. And in this transistorized resonant inverter, the transistor Q2 can be turned on almost instantaneously after the transistor Q1 is turned off, okay. And this is up the inverter is completed, okay. The chapter inverter is completed, and in the next class I will discuss about the converters and the AC voltage converters, okay.